England hosting France in the Six Nations. It's the third game of the second week, and England are really, as a car drives up my driveway, in the driver's seat at the moment because they've picked up an away win over Ireland, so that kind of puts them on the front foot. Them and Wales at the minute, before any of these week 2 games, are definitely on the front foot. Scotland kind of having to hold at home against Ireland. Ireland looking to push away, but England and Wales. England back home. Wales still away, but it got Italy. So this game, I mean, the pressure doesn't ease up for either team. England have done the job away, which is the hard part. Now they need to kind of maintain that level for a second week and back home. For the French, yeah, that was a pretty disappointing second half last week. So some consistency over 80 minutes is a big question for them. And realistically, if they're going to do anything this campaign, they also need to get off the ground now and get to winning ways because, yeah, it doesn't take too long to be left behind in this comp. But hey, going to Twickenham, it is a pretty big ask. I will put the 2 teams in the description so you guys can have a look. There are a few changes. So for England, the big one is Maro Itoje. He's hurt his leg, and he is out. From what I read, it's out for the whole comp. So yeah, that's a big pity. But I mean, when you've got Courtney Laws who can start, and then you can put Launchbury on the bench, hey man, it's still not a bad looking second row at all. The other change to the starting lineup is Ashton and Nowell. They swap places, so Ashton goes onto the wing and Nowell, yeah, he's on the bench. So it's not a huge change. I'm not sure what Eddie sees in that, but I guess he's got his reasons. But yeah, overall it's a pretty consistent lineup for England, who clearly want to push on from there. Like they're not underestimating the French by making kind of 10 changes like they might do perhaps against Italy. They're still naming a very strong team to go and get a job done. But yeah, I mean, last week it was Wilson, Curry, and Vunipola in the back row. That remains the same. That front row of Vunipola again. The other one, George and Sinckler. So it's a pretty mean-looking 4-pack. Dominant tackles was the buzzwords around England last week. Their forward pack certainly put in a lot of those. So again, can they back up? Tuilagi and Slade back to good form, especially for Tuilagi back in that midfield. Farrell really ran the show. Young's with his kicks. So yeah, it's all there for them to play for. They've still got that pretty much same team, and I'm looking forward to see how they go. For the French, yeah, it's not quite as consistent. They're not able to just keep that same lineup, essentially the same as last week, because they did really fall off the pace in the second half of that game. So there are a few changes. Medard is out along with Fofana. So you've got Huget moving to fullback. So despite his kind of calamitous era last week, he still remains in the starting 15. So it's Fickou who's on one wing with Penaud on the other. It's an interesting one because Fickou, in the article I read for France, said, you know, not many of his starts for France anyway have been on the wing, but that's where he is for this one. Dupont is on the bench. Willemse is back to the bench after starting last week, and I actually thought he was decent. Bastareaud is back, so that's a big man to be marking up with Henry Slade. We'll see how that matchup goes. And Tamak is dropped to the bench after starting at 12 last week, so it's Doumayrou at 12 with Lopez and Parra inside him. So it's a bit of a shift. I mean, Vahamina, who's the guy who threw that pass which got intercepted by North, he still retains his spot. Huget, like I said, retains his spot, but some of the other guys who perhaps weren't as bad have had the axe swung. So there'll be a lot on this game, and you know, guys like Pickamoles, who actually played pretty well last week, and Ituria, who I thought was also very good. A lot of guys mentioned him in the comments. To see how they go will be interesting as well. Last 5, it's 3-2 to England, and that seems pretty close. But the last time France won at Twickenham was 2007, so you would have to be backing England here with that pretty good record. Although the average score over those 5 games, England 21, France 20. So it is apparently traditionally a pretty close game. That being said, the bookies have got England by 13 for this one. I think much of that will be based on England's performance last week. A lot of punters will be chucking money at England to win by a fair bit, because they really did a job on Ireland, and after France's collapse, that'll kind of pull the odds away from them as well. So it's kind of not surprising, but I'm sure England would take a 13-point win for sure at home against France. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting game. I believe this one is on at 4 in the morning, Monday, here in New Zealand. It's a work day, so I'm thinking about getting up at 5 and just watching it from an hour late before I head on into the office. So yeah, it might be a bit bleary-eyed by the end of Monday work day, but hey, if I can see England against France, that'll be worth it. I have promised one guy from the comments that I will wear this England jersey properly out in public, out into the streets, not just out in front of my house, but if England can get a win here, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, you guys let me know your thoughts on this one. How do you think of the lineups? As I said, they're in the description. Do you see England pretty much walking this one in, or do you think France will step up? Or are we going to see that same French team from the second half as last week? You guys let me know your thoughts. I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.